All right, John. It looks like it's 4 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this session of the Design Review Board to order. John, if you'll do a quick roll call for us, please.
We are aware that both Haley and Carrie have other commitments today, so it's going to be the remaining 5 of you.
Okay. Let's start with item 2.1, approval of the minutes of the March 14th, 2019 meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yes.
Is there any corrections or additions that anyone noticed? No? Okay. If not, then I'd be willing to accept a motion that we accept
Okay,
them.
I move we approve the minutes of the March 14th, 2019 meeting.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second to accept the minutes as presented. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. Moving right along to new business. John, will you go ahead and read 3.1 for us, please?
Yes, this is a review of application CC 19-3 that's filed by Bob Mueller on behalf of Astoria Properties, LLC, and that is requesting the approval of a certificate of compatibility to allow the removal of the existing awning structure and exploratory demolition of the existing exterior structure covering on the building located at 123 South Santa Fe. This building, as well as adjoining buildings, were actually built in 1887, so they're all of a similar construction period with simple cornices. There are 2 more buildings here at 25 and 127 that were taken down in 86 for the downtown streets improvement then. But this building was first known as the Cravens Building. Mr. Cravens bought that in 1911 for his mortgage company, and at that point the structure had a name plaque saying Cravens on the top. So the 2-story building has a simple dentil cornice with upper-story windows. Some of the upper-story windows have been covered with paneling and reduced somewhat at the peak, the very tops of those. And a metal awning was installed in 1973 by its owner at the time, Carl Adrian, who managed his camera shop and also later the coin and stamp business at this address until its recent purchase by the applicant. But during a downtown revitalization project in 1985, the 2 buildings to the south were removed to create Campbell Plaza. The building itself sits on the north end of Campbell Plaza, and it opens it to a stage and superstructure on the top, but it does occupy 25 feet and was originally 75 feet in depth on the lot. The remaining 45 feet of the lot was used to establish a 1-story masonry structure. It was Coop's Pizzeria, and that continues to occupy the space today. But this shows the metal canopy that is up there today. It does have some tie rods that tie back into the facade. These appear to be the only penetrations that have taken place on the building over time, other than an application of a stucco on both the front and the south walls of the structure. As we go further to the east, you can see a stucco covering was placed there in cooperation with the building owner. That's roughly 1 1/4 inch stucco on metal lath on that location. It does have styration panels for a decorative aspect on that, but it does cover fully everything from the cornice to the ground level there. Next. This shows the interruption. The main building is 2 stories and 75 feet in length. The remaining building is 25 by 45, and it was constructed of concrete block. It does have rear windows, and you can see that there was some decoration done when the stucco covering was applied. It does have some pilasters that occur both at the front and the back. But otherwise, it's a very simple covering. It is bordered by planters on the very south wall on there. And certainly, as we go to the next slide, we see the relationship of the Campbell Plaza with the rest of that. While the stage is fairly short, there is a superstructure that goes over here as a cover for the stage and nearby seating. So this is seeing the property from the alleyway to the east. We do have a copy of what Campbell Plaza development has planned. This shows that there would be some planters on the area here, both to the north and south entrances to there. There is seating area along the south facade of the building, and then 2 more planters where the entrance to Coop's Pizzeria are. So the rest of that remains open, except for planters on the corners. And this will be the overhead crosswork structure that you reviewed during last year. And you see some of the details of brick patterns that will exist in the plaza themselves. The stage area is going to remain the same configuration, and the superstructure is going to be rehabbed and waterproofed and will remain in the same general appearance. The property owner is proposing to take off the stucco, and once that is revealed, he is going to see if the brick on the south side of the building as well as the front is in a serviceable condition. Normally the exposed brick here has been fire coated and is relatively waterproof. Since there was a common party wall that was taken down here, this brick could be somewhat softer and could be in question as far as stability goes, but we'll let the applicant address that. We do have a series of slides here, and I think Mr. Sharp could probably describe the philosophy behind the building renovation as well as what they expect to do in the future. But you do have options today to approve the application on finding that the proposed awning and exploratory demolition will conform to the design guidelines. You could approve that subject to conditions. You could postpone consider the application if you require additional information. This would be the same as having a redesign coming back to you. And in the case of now, there is an appeal process. So our usual condition is if there's any significant changes to the proposal that we be contacted as staff and for us to determine whether additional review is required. So this is actually the first step in the review of this property. You would be able to review the restorative work and final appearance at a future meeting. So at this point, staff will try to answer any questions you may have on the project.
Anybody have any questions for staff?
Well, or to the gentleman.
If none, then representative from the applicant, please.
Just, we're going to check it out, and what if taking off the stucco or you find the bricks not of appropriate quality for exposure? Is there an alternate plan?
You can see here on the lower part,
Mhm.
it is probably going to have some sort of facing on it. We would just carry that all the way up to the top, whether it's stucco or a wood paneling of sort or some sort of metal paneling. We don't know right now. We just kind of we obviously want to try to restore the natural brick if we can. But if it's an interior soft brick, we'll have to come up with another option, which we will present after we find out.
Right, okay.
Has there been any discussion with the owner of Coop's Pizzeria about potentially doing something with that building since it's adjacent?
So back here,
Yes.
sort of, yes. He's up for anything, but he doesn't really. I don't think he wants to invest in it. So
Okay.
it would be up to us on what we want to do.
Okay.
I guess he did some preliminary work, or I think maybe Mike Wilson did for him. He has to bring his restaurant up to code if he does anything major, and he's kind of grandfathered in right now.
Okay.
His kitchen is not up to new code standards, which would be a very expensive improvement.
Okay, thank you.
I had a question that lost me. Either way, we're looking like today just at the demolition, and how exploratory is that going to be on that south side. Is that going to be,
If you go back to the original, or what it looks like now. So we're gonna remove the stucco from the top all the way down and see what we're left with.
so you're going to remove all of it? Okay.
So one way or another, it's coming off, right? Whether it's acceptable after it comes off or not, so.
Correct. And same with the front, the whole thing's, it's all coming down.
And then either way, if the brick's not acceptable and you do decide to go back on, say with another stucco surface, it still has to come back to the board
Correct.
for
It would,
design
yes.
anyway, correct?
Yes. That and any treatment on the front of the building, too.
Right, okay.
And we are, go to the front picture, if you would. Just want to make sure we're clear that the Adrian is probably going to come down with the demo. To me, it looks like it's part of the stucco when it was done. So when it's all demoed, that's probably going to come off to the natural brick. We don't know what's behind there.
John, wouldn't that have been like a terracotta stone? Most of the ones downtown that have the names on them, those are original. Those aren't, I wouldn't think this would have been done with the stucco. I don't know if you have any insight.
Well, it was Craven's building from 1911 up to 1986, and then Carl Adrian purchased the building and must have taken that upper portion there is stone. It's not really brick, I believe. I think that's painted stone. And apparently removed that and put his own name up there. But we do have older photographs that show Craven's on the top, so it's a recent addition.
Okay,
And
so that's
if
not
it's-
original?
It's
Yeah,
not original.
okay.
And if it's stone, I mean, we'll keep the stone
Right.
look. I don't know what's gonna come off or what's not in this whole area
I'd
up
be
here.
curious to know if the original, when you take it down, if the original name is still there in the stone.
Yeah. And if it is, we'll probably restore that, whatever the original one is.
And for now, the plan on the awning is to just remove it. We're not going to go back with anything at this time, right?
No.
On the design renderings, you probably noticed that the transom area was going to be restored to glass. That is dependent on the condition or the existence of the panels back there. It could be recreated possibly if the owner chooses to, but this is more or less a concept.
And somewhere in here, John, I read in some guidelines about the openings to Campbell Plaza, that those would have to be approved by the city.
They would, yes. The license agreement dates from '86, and that put the property line just at the center of the two building walls. And that was to guarantee that if the wall was taken down for some reason, repair that, it wouldn't be built on city property. It would have to be built on private property. So that party wall was split. The portion of the building to the south was taken down. So the south elevation now is right on the property line. So that just requires that the city review any types of openings that go into Campbell Plaza for relationship on that and utility.
If I remember right, when you first brought this concept to us several weeks ago, was there any discussion then about how the openings would affect the planters for the new Campbell Plaza? It seems like we talked about that and the city was pretty open to making a change.
At this point, they probably want to review any changes that are proposed to see if they could coordinate that in any way. The planners that are there now is going to be reworked, and they could be done in such a way that they would help with some of the openings on that south wall. Of course, it would also affect the windows on the north, even though they're up on a second story. But that's just an approval process that they would go through, and
Okay. It seems like we talked about that before, how it would affect the design of the Campbell Plaza with the new planters.
it could be, and where they're showing planters now, they do also show an area back there for seating and tables, and those areas would be available for openings. It's not continuous across the whole length of the building.
Right.
So, but they have worked with property owners along Santa Fe who wanted various adjustments to the streetscape to help with their openings and utility, and they would have a similar a willingness to work with the property owner on this as well.
Okay.
Yeah. At some point, yeah, the Campbell Plaza will have work starting on it and then change order on it. It's probably going to be well into this year before that happens.
And then if there was to be any outdoor seating to the south, that would fall under the same sidewalk seating regulations? Would that be different?
They're not indicating a permanent seating except the planters, so it's expected that they may have tables there, and they will have portable tables and chairs set up in a lot of events. They have a few tables set up there now for the pizzeria, but they're kind of confined to that back area.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions for the applicant? No? Do you have anything more you'd like to add?
I don't think so.
Great.
Thank you.
Bring it back here for discussion. Is there any discussion at all? Any concerns? No? Okay. Well, I guess we're ready to accept a motion if there's one to be offered.
Then I move we approve the application, subject to any conditions approved by a majority of the Design Review Board. And if there are any significant changes to the demolition activity approved today, that these will be presented to the board's administrative staff to determine whether additional review is required.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? None? Motion carries. Moving on. Any other new business, John?
We have no other business for this meeting. We will also be holding a meeting on April 11th, which is in 2 weeks, to review 2 applications that are coming before you at that time. So that's what we're planning to do, is have those prepared and we'll meet with you here in 2 weeks.
Okay. Then, if there's nothing else, no other discussion, I guess we'll, ready to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay? We're adjourned.